The option was to stick my pecker in a toaster for 5 minutes. I'd choose the toaster.
Welcome into Tapping Vegas, and today we're giving you guys our 5 favorite fights for UFC 305. And guys, we just got back from the Fantasy Football Expo, and we were giving away a bunch of free stuff. And I just felt like we needed to give away more free stuff, didn't it, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, you guys just get all this free stuff, and we just think to ourselves, you know what, you need more of it.
You do. You do. There's not enough free stuff in the world anymore. We gave away a lot of free football stuff. Channel's been growing with a lot of new MMA fighters. So, guys, you are not forgotten. UFC in the Sphere is coming up soon. So, if Merab Dvalishvili wins, guys, we have a signed pair of fighter shorts from Merab Dvalishvili himself. All you have to do is make sure you subscribe to our channel, and then when that video comes out, make sure you guys leave a comment. That's as simple as that. To win a signed pair from Merab himself, fighter shorts. I mean, Bobby, how dope are these, dude?
Authentic and verified from the same company that you purchased my Tony Ferguson signed fight shorts from, and really great company. Go ahead and just tell them a little bit about the company right quick.
Yeah, man, pristine auction, guys. All their stuff is verified, so this is 100% verified Merab Dvalishvili signed shorts. And once again, all you have to do is subscribe, and you get this excellent content. We're actually pumping it up to another level next week. We're going to start adding in the Vegas picks. We're going to start adding in the advanced analytics picks, our picks, and then your picks. We're going to start unleashing polls, I believe, on Monday mornings. And you guys let us know who you're on, and it'll make it into the videos. Bobby, give us the first fight, man.
Jingliang versus Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates is the guy taking it back to old school martial arts, smoking some cigarettes after a win, real casual and everything. Just, I love to see it, man. All these guys, all these nerds out there, all these, women out there being nerds when it comes to the sport, eating clean, training hard, D-ball, and Navarre give up, all that. This guy's just like, let me rip some heaters after this win. Just straight chilling out there with some ciggies, getting jiggy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, yeah, Carlos Prates. This man doesn't have Muay Thai tattooed in English across his chest for nothing. Striker, won his last 3 fights by strike finishes. Just an absolute animal, only 30 years of age. Knee to the body win in round numero uno against Charles Radke. Straight left round 2 win over Trevin Giles. He's active too. So he fought February this year, June this year, going to fight August of this year. I love the activity. You're not seeing activity levels of 3 fights in a year like this anymore, unless you're like living in, the medieval times of 2015 where you had guys like just animals fighting 4 times a year. Cards didn't suck. Oh God, I'm going down memory lane. Anyway, Mitch Ramirez beat him with a straight left August last year to get his Contender Series contract, get signed to the UFC. So yeah, Carlos Prates is on a heater to say the least. I mean, before that, head kick win in LFA, another head kick win in LFA, jab win in SFT, strikes win in SFT, ground and pound in SFT. You got to go all the way back to 2021 with this man's activity level to see the last time he didn't get a finish. And it's really nice to especially see that finishing power translate into the UFC after 2 fights now. So many fighters just for whatever reason can't finish fights through strikes or subs. Once they make it to the UFC, Carlos Prates is full steam ahead with 2 finishes of 2 UFC caliber fighters in the promotion thus far, that quick together. Choo-choo, baby. In the words of Artem Lobov, choo-choo, motherfuckers. So, all that to say, I guess you can probably tell who I'm on, who Vegas is on, who you should be on. It's Carlos Prates. And here's some additional info to kind of flush out the argument for you. Jingliang is coming off a 2-year layoff. Before that, controversial split decision loss to Daniel Rodriguez in a loss that is aging like milk left out in the Arizona sun in the middle of July. Not aging very well at all. Muslim Salikov TKO win, once again, aging like baby food left out in the desert. Lost to Khamzat Chimaev, no shame in that. And then he's had a lot of injuries. That 2-year layoff is the result of a spinal injury that he sustained preparing for his fight with, I believe, is Michael Chiesa. anytime a spinal injury occurs, I'm very concerned. He tried to play it off saying it was just a pinched nerve or something like that. I'm thinking it's a little bit more serious. Obviously, it's a smart thing to say, you know, hey, it was just a pinched nerve and not admit to your opponent how compromised you were type thing. But he was out for 2 years, and I don't think a pinched nerve is going to put you out for 2 years. So that's a lot of red flags there for having a spinal injury and it sidelining you that much. And, yeah, he's 36. He's been in the UFC for a while. He's very spotty. Since 2020 for 4 years now. Loses, wins, loses, wins, loses. Could this be the win? Sure, of course it could be. I could also wake up and Sydney Sweeney could be in my bed the next morning. It's possible, sure. Is it going to happen? Highly unlikely. So, yeah, to cut this short, sweet, to the point, I'm not betting my money on the guy who's older, coming off a 2-year layoff with a serious spinal injury, who is not the striker that I believe Prates to be. I think he still is that guy. He's proven that he's that guy. And all indication is pointing to Jingliang being the guy who is unfortunately on the decline. And I know that kind of saddens you because everybody was riding that man's knob because he wore a suit to like the Tony Ferguson fight or didn't get to wear it. I don't even remember the damn story, but here's the last thing I'll get at here. Your odds are absolutely atrocious on this fight, and for good reason, to further prove my point of why I'm on Prates. Minus 375 money line for him, plus 295 for Jingliang. I just can't justify Jingliang. I also can't justify Prates by KO TKO. That's minus 110. Clearly, Vegas also believes that's going to end in a knockout, as do I, but that's not really helping you. By decision, plus 250 could, but that's not taking the sting off the money line, so why am I going to mess with it? Submission at plus 1,200 is not at play at all. If you're just absolutely desperate to look for something on this is just a long shot. This isn't a haymaker or anything, just a cheeky little bet you could play on this fight to just try to, do something to kind of get yourself some profit on this fight with how bad Prates is as a favorite. I'm looking at fight props on DraftKings here. Jingliang eye gouged the ever-loving hell out of Jake Matthews when they fought, and it was terrible. It actually resulted in some long-term issues. Jake Matthews has come out and said how bad the eye gouge was because Jake Matthews locked in a pretty deep sub on Jingliang. So his defense was to just do the Urban Martell on the mountain from Game of Thrones on him and almost bust his shit like grapes. So if you want a point to be deducted, yes, at plus 2,000, that's all I got for you. Because there ain't much else that's worth messing around with on this particular fight. What do you got, Ben?
You fucking virgin.
Oh, wowzers. Did not expect this already.
I know you did it, man. I was just gearing up that entire time you were talking, man. Have you seen Jingliang fight?
Yes, and that's why I picked against him.
Look at it. Oh! That's called speed. That's called speed, boy.
Speed.
Carlos Prates, man. I get what you're saying. The dude for Jingliang, he's older. He had the spinal injury. He's been gone for a long time. Everything you said is accurate, and that's exactly what Vegas is pushing. That's what they want you to know. Right now, 14% of the bets are coming in, 21% of the money. So we got some sharp money coming in on Jingliang. Man, he took those 2 years off, but think of it this way, though. He's not rushing back from a spinal injury, and he's coming back and he's fighting. So if he's coming back, that means you don't get in that cage if you don't think you can win, if you don't think you can go. So he took the time he needed. He said he's reinvented himself as a fighter, and he's coming back, man. Prates, man, Prates, however you want to say it, man, barbecued. I think he's going to come in. Jingliang, maybe the knockout. Maybe decision. I don't know. I don't need a pick right now with the money line almost plus 300. It's pretty much a draw for Vegas. But I'm telling you, man, something's telling me that there's something cooking with Lee. And you need to be on him.
No, man. I think the only thing being cooked right now is some meth. I got sponge dogs. That man's not it. But, hey, I'll shout you out if it comes true. But I think Carlos Prates is going to smoke him like a Marlboro Red after fight sig.
We'll see, man. Well, that's another thing, man. This man's got damaged lungs. He's about to get it from Lee. Lee's going to give it to him, all he can handle.
I was going to say something, but I'd probably get us canceled. So I'm just going to move on.
Let's move on to the next one then. We're going to be talking about Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I think we're going to be on the same side for this one. So what made Tai Tuivasa such a good fighter back in the day is that he had the knockout power, but he wouldn't be finished. Now what we're seeing is Ty's been finished in the last 4 fights in a row. Currently 1-4. Knocked down a lot, and he's getting knocked out too. He attacks forward, which is a good thing. I don't like fighters that back up, but I think if you're going into Rozenstruik, that is a bad method for success. Rozenstruik himself is a KO artist. He's not a takedown guy. He's going to do his kickboxing style, and I just feel like it's going to be too much. He utilizes his leg kicks too, which Tuivasa is just, he's so heavy on just throwing punches. Upper body. Rozenstruik, it just seems like such a more complete striker to me. Right now, you can get him at minus 218, 53% of the bets, 34% of the money. So right now, Vegas is hoping that Rozenstruik wins. I'm hoping that Rozenstruik wins as well. Minus 218, it's not a great number. Since I took the plus 285, I feel like I can take this one without taking a method. If I was, though, I feel like KO is pretty safe. I'm interested to see what you think, Bobby. What do you think, man?
I want no parts of Biggie Boy in this fight because it's heavyweight. Heavyweight's absolutely disgusting. Heavyweight is hands down the worst division in this entire sport. I have no desire to watch this fight. I can't say enough bad things about this fight. If this fight was the last fight on earth I could ever watch on loop for the rest of my life, or the option was to stick my pecker in a toaster for 5 minutes, I'd choose the toaster. They're already dead. I know. They're already dead. You make some valid points, but I'm going to counter that with it's heavyweight. Yeah. It's heavyweight MMA.
That's fair.
It's a big brain take right there. It's all yes. Yes. That's it. I'm not even getting Rozenstruik at a good KO TKO at minus 150 on money line. He's already at minus 218. Tuivasa's a plus 180. Here's my main thing with it. I get that Tuivasa's been finished in his last 4 fights. I get it. Obviously, I have 2 eyeballs they can see. Here's my whole thing, though. Sergey Pavlovich, no shame. Cyril Gane, no shame. Volkov, no shame. Tybura, we're starting to get a little shameful.
Yes.
Starting to get a little shameful there. So that's a little bit concerning, but it's also grappling. Like, one thing I'll give Tybura credit for, if he can get you down, he is a good grappler. The problem is getting you down. So that's the problem there.
He just looked terrible, though. He just looked terrible in the last fight, man.
He does look terrible, but Biggie Boy doesn't look good either because it's heavyweight. I've been hearing about this man's kickboxing record. I'm starting to think his kickboxing record is like Jean-Claude Van Damme on that Blood Island or whatever the hell movie it was. I hear about it, but I think it's all just embellished because all I see on Wikipedia is kickboxing record incomplete with a whole bunch of wins. And it was like those Dagestani dudes in like Very Nice Fight Club. It's like, who are you kickboxing? Who are you kickboxing? Somebody's nan? Like, kickboxing. And this man, like, last time I fell for his kickboxing thing, you know what fight of Biggie Boys, Jairzinho Rozenstruik that was? That was the Francis Ngannou fight in 2020, 4 years ago, when it was like, he's a way better kickboxer. And Francis Ngannou, I know all of you out there are going to be really butthurt. Here's some preparation H. Get ready. Francis Ngannou was just another dog shit heavyweight plodding forward, literally windmilling punches against a guy who makes the #1 mistake in MMA and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who had no other counter to being like fat kid windmill punched on by Ngannou while his eyes were closed, other than to back up in a straight line up against the fence and take what's coming to him like your mom on a Saturday night. Oh. So all I'm saying is I'm not impressed with his acumen. I don't think there's anything about him that makes him this god amazing kickboxing guy who's just coming out there head kicking the shit out of people. And his last 5 fights, he's 2-3 in his last 5, ain't killed a motherfucker yet. Like, I don't know what else I could possibly say about Rozenstruik. It's 2 nasty, sloppy heavyweights just battling it out to see who can take the other's head off before it goes to the most ugly decision you've ever seen in your entire life. And when the odds are this skewed, I get what you're saying, and you make some valid points about the sharp money and, you know, who Vegas wants to win and everything. But I'm just going to take Tai Tuivasa money line at plus 180, and it's heavyweight. Anything can happen. One punch can change it, and just hope for the best.
You take this next fight, Bobby.
All right, so the next fight we have Mateusz Gamrot and we have Dan Hooker. This is a very interesting fight because all indications seem to point to me that Gamrot's going to win, but I can't fight this feeling anymore that the guy with the crappiest tattoos in the league that got the itch might just knock this guy out. And I just go waffling back and forth between this fight because I just don't know how to feel. It's not like my heart is saying Dan Hooker's going to win. I don't like Dan Hooker. I really don't. I'm not a fan of Dan Hooker. I think he's extremely overrated. I like Dan Hooker when he first started reevaluating his career, like his first UFC run. I respect that in 2014 when he made his debut, he had a rough, spotty debut with a win, a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a loss. Then he got cut. Oh, actually, no, he didn't get cut. Thankfully, they kept him around to be able to give him that opportunity. But he was definitely a cut candidate, and he turned it around after going win-loss, win-loss, and he went on a 4-fight win streak with some pretty impressive names on there. KO and Jim Miller, submitting Mark Diakese with a guillotine, KO and Ross Pearson with a knee, KO and Gilbert Burns with a punch. Then he lost to Barboza, then went on another 3-fight tear against Paul Felder, Ali Quinta, James Vick. Man's been around for a while, since 2014 in the UFC, and he's only ever lost to elite-level guys. Arnold Allen, Makhachev, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, Edson Barboza. That's it for after his resurgence. Obviously in his debut and his first few fights, that was a learning curve. That was a struggle. He was 13-7 after the Jason Knight loss. But after he had all that little resurgence and he really turned his career around, he's only lost to elite level guys ever since then. And that's Dan Hooker. And once again, I don't like Dan Hooker, so this is unbiased. I don't care because I respect what he's done to turn his career around, but I've never really been a fan because he's just one of those guys that I know that's his job as a fighter. He's supposed to have that self-belief, but he just rubs me the wrong way with how delusional he's been and no real justification for it. It's not like, he's lost these fights because, injuries have sapped him or, some of the best years of his career were taken away for outside circumstances. Gamrot, 3-fight win streak. Jalen Turner split decision, TKO'd Fiziev, but Fiziev blew his ACL in that fight. RDA unanimous decision, lost to Dariush, beat Sarukian, TKO'd Carlos Diego Ferreira.
Beat who?
Arman Sarukian.
Who? One more time.
Arman Sarukian. He's pretty good.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
He should have won that, but that's just me. I watched that fight. I do not think he should have won. That should have been Arman Sarukian.
I'm just saying.
100%. Jeremy Stevens submitted him. Scott Holtzman KO'd him. Lost to Guram. So, what do I think about this fight here? Here's my thing. I like Mateusz Gamrot. I really do. And now that I say it, let me look at the odds because, goddamn, I do not want to ride with Dan Hooker. My only thing is my biggest thing against Gamrot, I get he's went up against guys with really good sub defense. So obviously you're not going to sub Sarukian, even though once again I believe Sarukian won that fight. But how do you not fucking? I guess RDA does have good sub defense too. You can wrestle fuck them, but you can't sub them. It's just his lack of finishing power has just really screwed with me. But he also hasn't been in the UFC as long as I thought. He's been in for 4 years, and he's been pretty active, but not as active as I would have hoped. So I don't know. All right, whatever. I'm going with Gamrot. I think Gamrot's the clearly better grappler. The only thing Dan Hooker has going for him is Dan Hooker's very tough. You can beat the ever-loving hell out of him like Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier's got pretty heavy hands. He's drastically improved his striking over the course of his UFC tenure, and he still wasn't able to put Dan Hooker out. Jalen Turner beat the man pillar to post. I think at one point he even broke Dan Hooker's arm, or Dan Hooker broke his arm. I don't know. It was a war that he had with Jalen Turner. Very fun fight. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. So he's got the striking advantage over Gamrot, I feel, and he's got like the power advantage, and he's tough. But other than that, the grappling's just not there. My biggest thing is I really try not to fall into the trap of, okay, if Islam Makhachev just absolutely dominated Hooker, then that means Gamrot's going to absolutely dominate him. And here's why. Their grappling style is different. Makhachev just has that, high intensity, take down by any means, take down any way I can get it, grappling style to just absolutely suffocate you immediately with high pressure. It's not really Gamrot style. Gamrot style is like, I will engage with you in grappling. I do want to take you down, but I'm going to do a single leg. I will stand and mix it up a little bit with you to kind of keep you guessing. It's not a priority because I can easily cruise to a decision just piecing you up. And, if you want to try to shoot on me like Tsarukyan, which I don't think Hooker's going to do, Hooker's going to want to keep it standing. So it's going to be Gamrot to force the grappling exchanges and whatnot. Like Gamrot's really good at defensive grappling, sprawling, standing up. That type of thing, to the point where he'll force a stalemate with somebody just as good as Tsarukyan. But if you suck, he's going to instantly reverse it on you and, take a top position and, start working and advancing. So it'd be very ill-advised of Hooker to initiate the grappling. He's going to want to keep it standing. My biggest worry is just that he just uses that damn toughness to just beat the hell out of Gamrot. Gamrot can't shut his lights out. And he just squeaks out like a Jalen Turner style win just because of how damn tough he is. And I don't want to try to also gamble on somebody's chin giving up, because if I'm being completely honest and transparent, I thought Max Holloway's chin was going to give out the first Volkanovski fight, and it didn't. So that's been years now. He's still going strong. I feel like Dan Hooker's from that same vein of just adamantium chin that needs to be studied in a damn science laboratory to see what it's made out of. He did TKO Paulus. This is a tough one, but I'm just going to go Gamrot, and I'm going to be ridiculous, and I'm going to go double method 450 for sub, KO TKO at plus 800. Let me know what that'd be, because everybody thinks this is going to go to decision. In my gut, I do too, but I'm just trying to lob out some crazy shit. So
you said Gamrot for KO and sub?
Yeah, because Gamrot KO is plus 800, Gamrot subs plus 450.
The double method is plus 300.
Huh. And that's really not taking the edge off the money line at minus 345. So I'm just going to take money line, because you're also not getting anything at decision. Decision's minus 150. That's what Vegas thinks is going to happen. So if you're not in on Hooker on this, then yeah, you're kind of forced to play the money line on Gamrot here, because props kind of suck. Significant strikes, you're not getting anything. No, yeah, you're
plus
not getting.
Plus 300 is not bad if you're thinking he's going to finish it. Going from minus 340 to plus 300.
The problem is I just don't feel that confident, because
Gotcha.
Hooker's just too damn tough. Like I said, Makhachev was able to get the easy Kimura and just rip it, because that's his style. Gamrot's just too he's just too conservative, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And then you're just not getting anything good. Point to be deducted, plus 2,000. I was just screwing around with the Jingliang, but at least there's potential for that to happen if, you have a ref who's actually competent and wants to punish eye gouging. But, like, everything else is just suck. Like, split or majority decision. Ooh, that could be tantalizing, actually. Split or majority decision if Hooker does just have enough fight in them to make it a little bit controversial or whatnot, and judges are notoriously inept at their job. Plus 350 for split or majority decision could be decent.
Yeah.
But, I'm just going to go outright money line. What do you got?
Man, I like Gamrot a lot in this fight. I'm going to be honest. And not just because of the Tsarukyan thing, but I think he keeps range really well. And I think it's going to be hard for Dan Hooker, who I feel like he's pretty slow compared to Gamrot, and he has these low hands, and the same style we talk about, like the karate boxing, like in and out, in and out, in and out. Whereas Gamrot, I think he can overwhelm him. He's got the takedown potential. He's got a great chin. You're saying Hooker has a great chin too. Man, Gamrot took like a shot that completely wobbled him in his last fight, and then another follow-up shot. Both of them could have put down a lot of fighters, but it didn't put him down. He stayed up and was able to, I think, keep fighting. I think he won that fight too.
Was that the RDA fight?
Yes. Yeah. Do you remember how that one ended?
It's just so concerning that old-ass washed RDA wobbled him. Fuck.
But he just caught him, though. I mean, he just caught him and then caught him again when he was dazed and falling backwards. So, man, I just feel like with his grappling and takedowns, too, I like Gamrot. I like Gamrot in this one. I like him quite a bit. I'm going to take the edge off by taking the decision KO because I think he can get a volume KO. Or like you said, I think both these guys are made of iron and it can just go to the decision. And you're getting that at minus 220, so I'm taking off over 100 points of juice. So I think I like that side quite a bit. We've got Kai Kara France versus Steve Erceg. This, Bobby, probably not going to be hard to believe, but this was going to be my Nuck If You Buck fight of the night.
Interesting. Very interesting.
We just saw Erceg almost beat Pantoja. Neither of us are big Erceg guys, but he made it the full 5 rounds with Pantoja, who I think is leaps and bounds better than Kai Kara France. Erceg, I think he's a fluid fighter. Very good striker, whereas Kai Kara France has got good takedown defense, but he moves backwards and he gets backed into the fence. 81% of the bets and 85% of the money are on Steve Erceg, so Vegas wants the Kai Kara France side to win. I think I have to go with the public side on this one. And I know Erceg's a big name, especially because he just had that big championship bout that he lost. I give him credit for it, though. He didn't get choked out. He didn't get knocked out. I thought he had a decent performance, so I'm not going to hold that loss against him. And Kai Kara France doesn't do anything that is just so good, I think. You know what? This guy's got it. And I feel like he has so much hype. But then again, Erceg's got a lot of hype, too. But, man, I just watching these guys, it's going to be a barn burner. But I think Erceg's getting out with the win. What do you think, Bobby?
Bigfoot, what's in Area 51? What happened to John F. Kennedy, who really assassinated him? Where the hell did all this hype come from for Steve Erceg, and why is it not organic at all? This shit is full of more pesticide than the Ganges River. This is the most polluted, non-authentic, created in a laboratory GMO, standing for genetically modified organism of a hype train I've ever seen in my life. This man is an industry plant with a capital P and a capital I, and I want to pee in anybody's eye who thinks that this man is not bankrolled by some weird office fanboys who are artificially astroturfing social media posts for this man. How many fights do you think you have? Like, pretend you don't know the answer. How many fights do you think Steve Erceg has had in the UFC? Pretend that you don't know. You're just hearing about this guy. How many would you think based off the hype he's got?
I would say with, like, looking at his record right now, like we're saying, since I don't know, you would probably think 8 or 9.
I was going to say, yeah, just pretend you don't know. I know you do, but just pretend.
Right. 8 or 9.
This is going to be his 5th fight. His 5th fight. He's been in the UFC since 2023, won 3 fights against a guy that doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, one of them, and got a title shot. And everybody just acts like he's absolutely amazing, and I just, for the life of me, do not understand it. I do not understand it. Kai Kara France, you're right, did used to be that guy who did used to have hype until Steve Erceg came along and took his job.
Yeah.
Steve Erceg's putting people out of work. He's taking food out of people's mouths over here as the flyweight hype train. Steve Erceg's just coming in, busting up small flyweights, you know, monopolizing, working for big flyweight company, and just taking all their hype and kicking them to the side. And I don't understand it. I really just don't. And for that reason, because there's nothing to justify it other than finger quotations, a fight he won against Pantoja not buying it, not believing it, stop crying, stop lying, stop hiding. Kai Kara France money line at plus 145 is how I'm going, just because
Ooh.
I just don't believe Steve Erceg. I don't believe anything about this is natural and organic, and it's just the most bizarre hype train that just came out of nowhere. It's not like this guy was knocking people out left and right. It's not even like he's been winning a lot of fights against a lot of high-level competition. Like you said, you would think he's 9 fights in with an 8-fight win streak, 7 of them, 6 of them. Hell, even just give me half of them. Just give me even 4 by finish, and he's not. And it's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen in MMA in my entire life. And the only explanation I can come up for it is just all the Office memes where he looks like I don't even watch that shit. But you know who I'm talking about from The Office. So,
Jim.
Yeah. So, Kai Kara France money line plus 145.
What does Kai do well that's going to get him the win over Erceg?
Natty. 100% natty. 100% all organic farm-raised beef. No GMOs, no pesticides. No, seriously, though, I'm going to keep it funky and I'm going to keep it real with you. I think he's a better striker. I don't think this is going to be a grappling match. I think he's going to be able to just absolutely pick apart and keep this at range and just control the pace of the fight against Steve Erceg. Another thing that's bizarre to me is I believe Kai Kara France comes from like that city kickboxing Gluck 5000 team that everybody likes to fanboy out over, that Israel Adesanya and Hooker train at. Yeah, he's a city kickboxing guy since 2016, and everybody fangirls out about Hooker and Adesanya striking, and this man gets no respect, even though he's KO'd Rogerio Bontaran, TKO'd Cody Garbrandt. Once again, not impressive doing that to Cody Garbrandt, but at least he did, because if he did not TKO Cody Garbrandt, that's very concerning. So he passed the Cody Garbrandt, can you knock this man out test. And I just think he's a good striker. I really do. I think he's a decent striker. Grappling's not going to play a role in this. He's only ever lost to the Brandons, which no shame in losing to the Brandons. Moreno and Royval were the other best flyweights in the division. His Emir Albazi loss is his last loss, but, you know, that guy was looking pretty legit right now, so no shame in that. So other than that, he's managed to beat everybody else in flyweight except literally that upper crust style competition, and his striking is going to be his path to victory. If he does try to grapple, I think that's going to be a mistake. He does train with all those city kickboxing guys, so he's been in the room with that. That should have some type of carryover, and you know, I just think it's gonna. I think it's going to be good for him. I do. I think it's going to be good. He also has his Ultimate Fighter win to get his contract before he lost to Pantoja in decision. Was a KO, so I think he's got some underrated power. I think it's going to translate with this, and I think Steve Erceg's going night-night.
All right, I can't argue with that, but it is time to talk about the battle for Africa. Why don't you take it away, Bobby?
Oh, Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. This is a heartbreaker for me because I am actually a DDP guy. I'm a dickless do pussy. I hate Sean Strickland, but goddamn, I got to admit, that's pretty catchy. I can't stop myself from saying it at least once. Dricus du Plessis is a fighter who I actually like in real life, but I practice what I preach, and what I tell everybody watching this show is not to bet with your heart, not to bet with who you like and all that. I mean, yes, it is nice to choose your guys, your girls, to choose fighters that you want to root for and everything, but I think this fight is a trap when it comes to that, because I don't even have to say who the better striker is, Israel Adesanya. Right. The biggest X factor is going to be the grappling. The grappling is going to be interesting because this is just like Francis Ngannou and his striking that was suddenly retroactively made to be the best striking in the heavyweight division and the second coming of the Lord and Savior, Azor Ahai. Do you have a minute to talk about him? There's been a lot of revision done about Israel Adesanya's grappling, and that the man is Kazushi Sakuraba, a little bit Hoist Gracie, a little bit Neiman Gracie, a little bit Randy Orton mixed in with all those grapplers into like a gigantic Frankenstein of just a grappling phenom that came from like the Alex Pereira's fight, in which it looked like on both of their parts, not just Adesanya's. It reminded me of a time growing up in the hood when I had my 2 drunk uncles get really drunk and smash beer bottles over the top of their heads and start rolling around on the ground. That's kind of what it reminded me of. I actually had PTSD flashbacks at one point and tipped over the couch and started screaming gang obscenities. So I don't know where the idea that Israel Adesanya is some monstrous grappler came from. DDP has the X factor edge in there. It's just the question that it's always been. He's kind of a mystery box. When does he decide to pull out that little handkerchief? Oh, wait, here's a magic trick. That handkerchief's got a handkerchief inside it, and you didn't even see it, and now he's using it to strangle you with it. I don't know how he determines that. Like, he tore up Darren Till with it, and that's when we first kind of realized, like, wow, we knew that Tyron Woodley could do this to Darren Till, but, man, this guy even moving up isn't the weight bully we thought he was, and he really fucking sucks at grappling. And all this training with Hamzat, you would have think they would have been, doing takedown defense nonstop. Darren Till and Hamzat's just shooting on the man all day. Darren's taking it in, no homo, pounding it down, taking everything he's got, staying on his feet. Apparently, they just tried to sew crypto together because the man's takedown defense did not stand up. It was absolutely terrible. He did that to Darren Till. He did it to somebody who was very impressive that he did, but the setup to it was caused by striking, and he already had him hurt, and he was probably confused, but it was still impressive because usually that's when your brain's on autopilot, and you start just naturally doing that as like your emergency defense system or whatever against Robert Whittaker, a guy who has always been praised for his Australian Commonwealth Games level wrestling that he had, in the toolbox. He just didn't show out, but he was able to do a nice little pass. And I don't think he actually got the sub finish. I'm going to have to look it up, but man, that's how he got the TKO over Robert Whittaker. So DDP definitely has some interesting grappling. It's just like, why didn't he use it against Sean Strickland? I'm pretty sure he just engaged in the majority of the Strickland fight with a sloppy, weird, just, classic DDP example of just shouldn't work, but it does. I'm going to knock you out. And now he's not gassed anymore with his nose surgery. But, yeah, he set up the TKO with Whittaker from the guard pass with it. But he has, submitted Darren Till with the face crank like I was talking about. Submitted Brendan Lesser with a guillotine in like one of those early fights in EFC or whatever. So he's definitely translated his stopping power into the UFC with 5 stoppage wins in the UFC. It definitely translates both in subs and KO TKO, which makes it so interesting that it works with how disgusting it looks like. But he's going to have to press that advantage. He cannot be comfortable and just make it a disgusting stand-up fest like he did with Strickland. He's going to have to shoot, but obviously strike that fine line between not shooting, naked like Askren. He's going to have to mix up the striking to get Adesanya thinking about the striking. Now that I say this out loud, I think about who Adesanya struggles with. Adesanya doesn't struggle, with the exception of Pereira, with your textbook style, same stance kickboxers, karate boxers, Muay Thai guys, whatever. For some reason, he eats guys like that up all fucking day. You do know who he struggles with? The weirdos, the Sean Stricklands. Nobody gave Sean Strickland a chance in hell in that fight, myself included. But looking back retroactively, trying to examine it, it was the fact that Sean is just a weird iCarly boxer. DDP is a weird, I've heard comparisons made to Paige Van Zandt striker lately. Like, maybe that is just what gives Israel Adesanya fits. And the grappling, once again, like I said, that's his avenue he needs to exploit. So he definitely has the edge there. Revisionism be damned. But I just don't know that I can, and I'm probably going to regret it because it's my boy and I should always pick my boy, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Just at the odds I'm getting it, minus 115 for Adesanya, do Plessis at minus 105. For all the hand-wringing and analysis I can give, I can say one thing concrete as a fact. You should not be getting Israel Adesanya in any fight at this stage of his career until proven otherwise, and maybe this is the beginning of the end and he does spiral out and he never recovers. But you should not be getting Israel Adesanya I'm pretty sure probably if I was to look at odds at this close in his fights in a very, very long time. Like the man is usually heavy favorite, and he's at -115 to a -105. That feels criminal to me to get Israel Adesanya at those odds. And it's a 5-round fight. And even though Plessis' gas tank has gotten a lot better, and I feel like that nasal surgery and all that jazz has helped, I still think in a 5-round fight with Adesanya mastering the range, mastering the control, choosing his shots, picking his shots, doing all the things that makes him one of the most elite strikers in the entire UFC, let alone the division that he's leaps and bounds ahead of. Getting his KO TKO at a +300 just feels dirty. It just feels nasty. It just feels sickening. It just feels like I'm getting away with something. And even a decision at +225, that's also tantalizing. Sub's not going to play a role for him at +2,500. If you're doing the sub, you're doing that for DDP. So I just think Adesanya is going to do all the things that Adesanya has done throughout his career that's made him the top-level guy. I hate to say it. It really does infuriate me to no end. I absolutely hate and despise Israel Adesanya, but I think he's going to get the belt back. It could be the end. It could be the end. And if he loses this, I definitely will believe it. And until further notice, I'll probably be fading him. But for now, Israel Adesanya to offset that money line KO TKO at +300 is the way to go. He can definitely get it done over 5 rounds. He's definitely a volume guy. He's done it numerous times before. That's how I'm rolling. What do you got? Oh, Dickless du Pussy.
Dickless du Pussy is right. Listen, we say this all the time, okay? MMA math, like don't do MMA math. I think we can make an exception for this fight because both of them, the last fights that they've had, were both against Sean Strickland, and both, I would say, like fairly recently, like within a year, around that range. Adesanya took a year off after his loss. Now he's back. Looking at that fight, I think Dricus has the same game plan for Adesanya as he did for Strickland, and I think Adesanya has the same Achilles heel that Sean Strickland did. We saw du Plessis lose big, really pretty, like I think it was like 64 punches. We wrote an article about it, but he lost the strike game against Sean Strickland, but he had the 6 takedowns, and that's what made the difference. Adesanya stands straight up exactly like Sean Strickland, and that could once again be the difference in this fight. Dricus, man. Dricus, however the fuck you want to say it, man. He drops his hands, and that could be, like you're saying, the knockout. That could be what ends him. That could be what ends the fight. But other than that, I mean, have you seen the meme of people when it's like they do something unexpected, they pick up their phone, you think they're going to call, and then they like put it in a bowl of water or something? Like it's just like you can never guess what's coming next. They bend down to tie their shoe, and then they do something completely different. That is who Dricus is as a fighter, dude. You just 100%. Don't know what's coming. And Adesanya, you said it, dude. He is just he's a great fighter. Probably one of the best strikers that the division and the UFC has seen with his style. But man, so much of that, and you see it too in wrestling, when you get these really, really good guys and newbies, what happens? The newbies don't fall right. They don't fall like they should. People who've done it for a long time, they know how to fall, to scramble and keep going. So the guys that have been doing it for a long time, they are anticipating that, and they are following you as you fall down. The dude is new. He just crumples. So as you're following, that's actually when we see a lot of injuries, is because this kid that doesn't know what he's doing and other people anticipating it, and it completely throws him off. And I think we could see that in this fight with Adesanya. Just not knowing what Dricus is going to do is going to throw off his timing, throw off his rhythm, and he stands straight up, which is going to open him up for these takedowns. Also, this is the side of Vegas right now. 31% of the bets and 26% of the money at -105. So they aren't even having to pay off plus odds on a 26% handle. I'm telling you, dude, everything right now is screaming Dricus to me, but my brain, and I think most people's brain, is exactly like we're thinking just like you, and it's because you're right. Adesanya is the better fighter. UFC, and like, okay, is Dricus's wrestling good enough to outweigh how much better Adesanya is as a striker? No. Adesanya is the better fighter, but in this matchup, can he win? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, my other biggest X factor is the emergence of the Adesanya titties back. And usually when the titty comes back, that means the man's on some good shit. And it's been hard to tell because I'm not going to get off on a tangent. I could talk about PEDs and sports all day long. I'll just say this. Originally, I was saying Adesanya looks the exact same. Everybody's made all this hubbub about how he's put on muscle. And they choose the shittiest possible pictures with the best lighting. And one just has the worst lighting. That's very clearly a lighting thing. This one I can't tell because, once again, the information I'm presented with is so hard to damn judge. But I don't know. I could talk about PEDs all day long, like I said. But I hope you're right because, once again, I hate Israel Adesanya. So I hope so badly that you're right. Not only for the profitability of the show, but also because that is the outcome I want personally. I want that so desperately, but I'm scared and I can't commit. So
that's okay. That's all right, man. Well, you are going to go from scared to putting your balls on the table because that was our last fight. So now we need a haymaker, which a haymaker is, if you guys are new and you haven't watched us before, that is a large plus odds bet that Bobby comes up with for every card to hit. Be careful because he's hit a lot of them. So, Bobby, what are you on this week, man?
So maybe just to really hedge us here and to just give me a little bit of satisfaction if it does hit, so I can dip my hands in all the little honey pots. DDP sub at plus 600. That's looking real frisky.
Okay.
Maybe that could be the only way I can bring myself to allowing DDP to be a thing is on the haymaker at plus 600 sub.
I love it. Bobby, anything else before we get out of here today, man?
No, I don't really have anything other than, man, if that DDP sub does hit, not only will that put the show over, but that might actually put me over into another galaxy.
Well, guys, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Remember, you need to be notified for when we give away the Merab Dvalishvili fight shorts. That's if Merab wins at the Sphere. Me and Bobby will also be doing a live on Tuesdays during the fantasy football season to give you guys the waiver wire ads that you need. Make sure you guys hop over there. Leave us some comments. We'll help you guys throughout the fantasy season. And Intentional Lounging is back. Right now, Ethan and Wyatt are doing a fantastic job with the preseason games. I'll be on with them for the regular season, so we'll have more great shows for you guys to watch. Thank you for watching. And make sure you guys like and subscribe. Peace, guys.
Peace.